Now, Art Briles said today that he would be interested in seeing how his offense would translate into the NFL, but he quickly followed that up by saying he was not going to seek out any jobs, whether it be the Washington Redskins or the University of Texas. Coming up a bit later on in sports, we'll take a look at some of the Baylor players who might be entering the NFL draft a little bit earlier than expected. We'll see you back here in a few minutes, Ann. And you mentioned the turnover battle. Let's talk about that with Baylor's side now. Bryce Petty, the first-year starting quarterback, only one interception on the year thus far, threw that against West Virginia. That game was well out of hand at that point, but it's really impressive for a first-year player to come into this system and only have one interception on the year. That is so crucially important, and it's no surprise. You know, we heard all the talk preseason about how good Bryce Petty was going to be. We heard it in the national media, but you know the guy that was leading that charge behind the scenes? It was Baylor head coach Art Briles.
Talking to Art, he, just in our meetings.
Fine Sports Director Lee Small. Lee, it's an exciting time for Baylor football fans.
Bruce, you are exactly right about this. I have been here a couple of years now, and I've never seen an atmosphere like this before. This place is buzzing with excitement, and why not? The number 6 Bears host Oklahoma tonight, the first top 10 BCS matchup in the history of Floyd Casey Stadium. As if that doesn't get any better, they've taken off the tarp. The south end zone will be full of people. There is a blackout here at the stadium tonight. Fans are thrilled for what's going on tonight. The line has been out the door tonight. And really, some players, when we talked to them earlier this week on Monday, said, I can't believe the tarp is coming off for this game.
I didn't think it would ever come.
Boone Pickens Stadium is one of the toughest places to play, not only in the Big 12, but also in the country. So there's guys like these, they show these paddles off, and they'll be hitting them against the wall the entire game right behind the Baylor bench. That's one of the main reasons Baylor has not won here since 1939. We're going to talk about that home field advantage and what the Bears have to do to be successful tomorrow, coming up a bit later on in sports. All year, penalties have been a problem for the Baylor Bears. In fact, coming into the game, they were dead last in the entire country in penalties per game. And boy, did they pick a bad time to have their worst outing of the year. 17 penalties in total, 135 yards, a main reason why Baylor loses in the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl 52-42.
I mean, that's very frustrating to have as many penalties as we had. You said we had 17. I mean, I don't know very many ball clubs that can win with 17 penalties in one game.
I'm extremely disappointed in myself. You know, I don't think I did a good job. I'm not sure we were prepared like we need to be prepared. We had mistakes tonight that we had. You know, I can't remember the last time we had this many penalties that seemed to continue the game in a fashion not favorable for us.
You don't really learn anything when you win, but you learn a whole lot more about yourself when you lose. As I always was taught that. I'm a little bit hurt. I thought I could have played it, but any player would have thought like that because, they're driven, they're hungry, and they're motivated.
You know, it's not a good deal going out, with a loss in a big bowl game like this. And, we didn't execute on defense tonight. And, that when you don't execute and you get to the point of attack and you don't get things done, you can't play good defense.
It was still a great season for the Baylor Bears, their first ever Big 12 championship and their first ever BCS appearance. That will not, though, help the sting of this 10-point loss. Reporting from Glendale, Arizona and the Fiesta Bowl, Lee Small, News Channel 25 Sports.
I just want to be able to touch people, around the world, share my story with a lot of people and help inspire them to conquer their goals and get over obstacles that they overcome in their lives.
Less than 24 hours after finding out his dream of playing in the NBA was over, Isaiah Austin was already moving on.
Unfortunately, it's come to an end, but, my life hasn't.
Austin's used to adversity. He lost the vision in his left eye when he was in middle school, but still became a top 10 national recruit out of high school.
I've touched plenty of lives with that story, and hopefully I can, use that story and this story to even touch many more people around the world.
Austin's career on the court might be over, but he's hoping to stand right where Scott Drew does sometime very soon.
He was a great basketball player, but God's given him so many other talents. He's very intelligent, a good student, very articulate. Basketball-wise, be a great coach.
It's just a lot of things that I really want to do right now. I really want to, if I can, to get into coaching later on, because I love the game of basketball. I want to be around it the rest of my life.
At the age of 20, there is still a lot in front of Isaiah Austin, something his mother has made sure to point out.
Like I told Isaiah when he went through the process with his eye, that was devastating as well, that you can either make it your excuse or you can make it your story. And even though this chapter is done, we just started a new chapter, but his story is not ended.
Reporting from Baylor University, Lee Small, News Channel 25 Sports. Quarterback Bryce Petty had to wait so long to get on the field, he actually got his degree from Baylor before taking his very first snap. It has been a long journey, to say the least, to get to this point for the starting quarterback, but he says he would not have it any other way. Out of high school, Petty committed to Philip Fulmer and the University of Tennessee. Before arriving on campus, though, Fulmer was fired, and new head coach Lane Kiffin didn't like what he saw from Petty. He needed a new home.
You know, he came to one of our camps earlier in the summer, and we really liked what he did at camp. And so when all that kind of took place, you know, I was on the road recruiting and went by there and got a chance to sit down with him and his head coach and visit a little bit and just kind of get a feel for where he was.
After talking to Coach Briles, Petty decided Baylor University was the right place. And that's when the waiting began.
Finally got to a school and had a gray shirt, which was tough because that was I wasn't part of the team yet. So then came in January and red-shirted and waited and waited the next year. Waited the next year to kind of be here and to wait. It was tough.
Petty went through a gray shirt, a red shirt, sat behind Robert Griffin III, and then Nick Florence. In fact, he'd still be behind Florence if not for RG3's concussion in 2011 versus Texas Tech. The future Heisman Trophy winner was out for the second half, meaning Florence had to burn a year of eligibility for just one half of football.
At the time, I didn't realize the implications of what happened. But going back and like you're talking about now, just kind of reflecting on that, I mean, that's a team player.
What Nick did in that game, and you know, basically gave up a whole year for a half of football and came in and played unbelievable. We won that game, and to set that as an example for what our whole football program is really about, and that's about, you know, being a football team, you know, sacrificing for each other, whether on the field or off the field.
Petty is a redshirt junior this year, meaning he's got one more year of eligibility. He has already said he will return for his senior season. Reporting from Phoenix, Arizona, Lee Small, the Texas Report. Thank you very much, Tim. We're still inside the Stone Room here at the Farrell Center. Join me now, senior point guard Gary Franklin. And Gary, the 6th seed, I guess, first of all, your just initial reaction to a very good seed for you guys.
We're pretty excited and pretty surprised that we jumped a lot of Big 12 teams. Ended up in San Antonio, TP's hometown, so we're happy for them. And we just hope that a lot of fans can come out and cheer for us.
We saw in the Big 12 championship game all those Iowa State fans. How big of a difference does that make when fans can actually make the trip down for your second and third round games?
It makes a huge difference. Even some of the Iowa State players were pretty surprised that they traveled so many fans. That also helped them when we would go on a run or if they would go on a run. So hopefully we have the same in San Antonio. It should be our home court advantage.
I talked to you. You're very excited. Obviously, you get kind of a home game for Baylor, and then possibly if you win 2, you get to make it out to your hometown in that Anaheim regional.
Absolutely. Being able to make it back to California would be great. I'm up to give all my tickets away here in Texas, so I can get all the tickets back going to California.
You were on that team 2 years ago that made the Elite Eight run in Atlanta before losing to Kentucky. How does this team compare to that team in terms of making a run like that?
This team has been through a lot of adversity. We've gone on the losing streak where we lost a lot of games, and I think that our toughness has been tested, and I think this is a team that down the stretch plays pretty well, and I think we'll come through with a win. How it stacks up to the team a couple of years ago, you can't replace guys like Quincy Acey, Quincy Miller, and those guys, and Pierre Jackson that were there, but we have some different tools and guys this year, and I think we go a little deeper in our bench this year as well.
Great. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it. Congratulations on the 6th seed.
Thanks.
That's Gary Franklin, senior point guard for the Baylor Bears. Again, they are the 6th. They will play the 11th seed Nebraska Friday in San Antonio. Let's send it back to Tim in the studio. Tim, when Baylor makes their first ever BCS appearance, you bring Sikkim Trivia with you to the desert. This has been a fantastic segment throughout the entire Big 12 season. It's been a whole lot of fun. Players have been great going back and forth. And this week we even have a special little twist at the end of Sikkim Trivia. So sit back and enjoy the Fiesta Bowl edition of Sikkim Trivia. You knew we weren't going to come this far and not do Sikkim Trivia. Oh, we're doing it. All right, here we go. So you guys played the University of Central Florida. Going to ask you, they've been in a little bit of a realignment stage the last couple of years. What conference does UCF come from?
American.
We finally get Bryce back after being taken away from us for so many weeks at the podium. People have been, it's either been really easy or really bad so far. So we'll see which one you are.
Is it the AAC?
Which stands
The
for
American Athletic Conference?
You got it.
I got it. Conference USA.
Used to be Conference USA.
Oh my goodness, American Athletic Conference. I don't know.
American conference. Was it in that? Is
Cool.
that it?
Cool. American Athletic Conference.
Athletic. Okay, that's what I meant. Yeah, I was testing you too. Okay.
Right back at me. What conference are they in now?
They're in the American Athletic Conference.
AAC.
You know what it stands for?
American Athletic Conference.
Nailed it. Glasgow's on his game today.
I don't know the name of their conference.
It's kind of a softball. At least Aaron Jones said so. So we'll see if you get it right.
UCF? Oh, man.
Not so much of a softball anymore.
No. Hey, Aaron, what conference is UCF?
Right now?
Yeah.
The American. He's got one for me.
All right, Pillsbury Doughboy, right? What's his name?
How is that related to this game?
What's his name, though? Pillsbury Doughboy. You know, the little round guy. You know,
Yeah.
poking.
Yeah. Fluffy? I don't know.
His name's Poppin' Fresh. That's his name.
Poppin' Fresh?
Yep, look it up.
How does that relate to what we're talking about here?
I just wanted to stump you.
You got me. Now, give Clay Fuller credit. He came prepared with a question for me. However, to clarify, he kind of broke the rules a little bit. The rules specify you have to ask a question about the opposing team which Baylor will face. But nonetheless, like I said, I do give him credit for at least coming with some ammunition. After all these weeks of us asking him questions, he came back at me and got me with a completely random question. So good for Clay Fuller. We will have plenty more here from the desert as we get you set for the Fiesta Bowl coming up on Wednesday between Baylor and UCF. That will happen tomorrow at 5, 6, and 10. For now, reporting from the desert, Lee Small, News Channel 25 Sports. In the last 5 years, Baylor has been to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament twice. In the team history of Nebraska, they have never won a single NCAA game. But guess who was doing the talking earlier today?
I think we can attack them defensively. You know, they're not a really good defensive team. You know, the zone is really easy, I think, you know, to break down. So those are things we've been looking at.
Leslie Smith might only average 5.5 points per game. But that didn't stop the big man from putting some material on Baylor's bulletin.
I mean, it's, you know, it's the Big Ten and it's the Big 12. It's two different leagues. You know, it's two different physicalities, two different types of players.
Big 12 is soft?
No, I'm not saying it's soft. I'm not saying it's soft. I'm just, you know.
Big 10's more physical.
Yeah, Big 10's more physical.
Lucky for us, this all happened before we met with Baylor, and you better believe we asked the Bears about it.
That's fine. They can say what they need to say. At the end of the day, it's we're the two teams that's going to be out there, and we determine who's more physical.
Every BCS conference is partial to their own and believe that their competition's a little bit better.
No way. No chance. No, I don't think so. I mean, both conferences are really strong, but we do have seven teams in the tournament.
From the sound of the talk today, this one should be a very, very good game from the AT&T Center. It tips off at 11:40 in the morning. It is your first game from the San Antonio Regional tomorrow. Reporting from San Antonio, Lee Small, News Channel 25 Sports. Lake Seastrunk announced himself to the national media last year, not so much with his play, which was very good, but it was more so with his mouth. The Temple native boldly stated that he would win the 2013 Heisman Trophy.
I feel like he can win it. I feel like he come out and said, if you feel like you can win a Heisman, say it.
You think you can?
I believe that 110%. Honestly, I'm not big on predictions, but I do predict that he will win the Heisman. And if he decides to come back another year, I predict he wins it 2 years in a row.
He's a dynamic football player that's very engaging, and those are good qualities to have, and they help you, with the voters. So it's, I'd much rather have players wanting to win the Heisman than clap for the one that does.
All the talk wasn't just about Lake, though. He might be getting most of the attention because of his prediction, but don't sleep on Glasgow Martin.
Everybody overlooks Glasgow. Like, y'all understand, Glasgow is the guy that people need to fear. Glasgow will run you over every single time. He's not going to try to give you a juke move. He's going to run straight through you, no matter what.
Offensive guard Cyril Richardson described Martin's running style as violent and hard-hitting. He followed that up by saying Seastrunk is a violently fast running back.
It's crazy to see him move on the field. I mean, one moment you're blocking somebody down in the dirt, and all you see is his back, 40 yards down the field, and you just I'll see you down there in a minute.
Speaking of teams with depth in their backfield, the Texas Longhorns feature 3 solid options as David Ash finally takes over as the man in charge of Mac Brown's offense.
Well, I remember my role as a freshman was to come to 7-on-7 and beg for some rep, just give me in once. And then I remember last year it was kind of like me and Case trying to coordinate things and kind of go every other and, kind of back and forth in the summer. And now this year it's just been my deal.
That does it from Big 12 Media Days. Now, the next date to circle on your calendar is August 31st. Texas kicks off the season at home against New Mexico State. Baylor opens up against Wofford from Floyd Casey Stadium. Reporting from Dallas, Lee Small, News Channel 25 Sports. It doesn't take long to realize that Phil Bennett is a very emotional man. All that yelling, though, has paid off. The Bears now have a top 20 defense nationally. Things didn't always start out that well, though. Early on in his tenure, Phil Bennett got off to a very rocky start with one of the program's blue chip players.
I mean, our first time meeting, we bumped heads. And right after that, Coach Bennett sat me down and talked to me, let me know that this is how he's going to be. And he's not going to change. He's not going to be any less of a coach because he's expecting nothing but the best from us.
I laugh. I tell him sometimes it's a love-hate. I love him. He hates me. But that's not true.
In fact, that couldn't be further from the truth. The players on defense respect Coach Bennett's style and therefore play harder for him.
Man, Coach Bennett he shows hard love. At the same time, like I said, he's gonna rip your butt on the field, especially if he sees potential in you. He's gonna get the best out of you if you want to or not. But off the field, he's gonna love you. He's gonna ask you, "How's your family?" He's that type of guy.
We almost have like a father-son relationship. I mean, where your dad gets onto you when you do something wrong, but later on that day, you're going to go right in there and talk to him, hug him, love him, all of that.
And just like a good father, Bennett was right there for Dixon in his darkest hour on the field.
After the situation at TCU, Gary Patterson and I talked, and Gary he knew he shouldn't have said that, but Gary's a good man. And I told him, I said, Ahmad is a kid you would love to coach.
KJ Morton and Ahmad Dixon will play their final game for Coach Phil Bennett this Wednesday in the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Reporting from Phoenix, Arizona, Lee Small, The Texas Report.